Welcome back to another episode of Keep the Fire Burning podcast with Bishop Elvin B. Thompson. Sit back and relax as I stir up the guilt that is in you. Well, my wife Valerie and I just finished watching the Breonna Taylor story, the documentary that is currently available on Holler. If you have not watched it and you really want to understand the case, then I recommend to you that you go to Holler and you watch the Breonna Taylor story. It'll bring tears to your eyes. In fact, I must admit, after watching it, I feel like hollering. I feel like screaming at the top of my lungs that somebody, somewhere, has to do something. I watched on yesterday as the Kentucky Attorney General Cameron, came back and announced that no criminal charges will be filed against any of the officers involved in the murder of this young lady. And when I watched it, it made me want to holler. I don't know how you can watch the story, hear the story, and not feel the same way. In fact, my wife and I have two daughters, both living on their own. Both of them are well on into their careers. One a school teacher, one a social worker. And I couldn't imagine them being asleep in their own home and their door get kicked in the middle of the night and they end up dead. It makes me want to holler. In fact, it made me think about and revisit what happened in 2012 when Mr. Trayvon Martin was murdered. Oh, you remember it. Murdered. A child by this grown adult man, George Zimmerman. And until today, at this time, this man is still out spreading hate, making money, laughing at and making mockeries out of the fact that he killed this young man and got away with it. Whew. That makes me want to holler. I also remember that in 2014, that was, up in Ferguson, Missouri, Mr. Mike Brown killed, murdered by police. Nobody indicted. Nobody pays for it. Hands are washed. And they go their merry way. He's dead. His family is suffering. And I feel like hollering. Then in November of 2014, about 12-year-old Tamir Rice down in Florida. He was holding a toy gun. Oh, what a crime. Toy gun. Shot to death by white police officers within 2 minutes of them arriving on the scene. People say, well, he had a toy gun. They didn't know if it was real or what. But we have seen on television armed, grown, white men and women on our nation's capital, in our government offices. Nobody shot them. Nobody's dead. But Tamir Rice is. It makes me want to holler. What about in July 2014, Eric Garner, a black father of 6, put in a chokehold, taken to the ground, and you could hear him screaming, "I can't breathe." And you listen as the oxygen slowly leaves his body and he dies right there on the corner. It makes me want to holler. Then in May of this year, in fact, May 25th, there's Mr. George Floyd, murdered for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. This police officer uses a restraint that he's not authorized to use, hasn't been trained to use, while Mr. Floyd says those old too familiar words, "I can't breathe," over. "I can't breathe," over again. "I can't breathe," over 20 times, until the oxygen leaves his body and he dies while the officer's knee is still on his neck. Makes me want to holler. And then yesterday, Attorney General Cameron, a black man, stands in front of the camera and announces there will be no indictment for murder for officers storming into this young lady, Breonna Taylor's home, in the middle of the night, murdering her. It makes me want to holler. Then I heard a pastor, black pastor from the South that I highly respect. But he said something that I just can't. I just can't. He said something to the effect that we have to stop focusing on the skin issue and worry about the sin issue. And while that may seem harmless and good, the reality is that they have used language and jargon like this for years down south by way of men who look like us, clergy, who have stood in the pulpit and said that we just need to look to heaven and leave all the rest of that alone in God's hand. And these are the same ones who sleep up under the very blanket of comfort, the very blanket of freedoms that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. died for, the very blanket of freedoms that Mr. John Lewis fought so hard for. The very blanket of freedom. People like Aunt Linda Lowry and Joanne Bland were beat for as they crossed the bridge, tried to cross the bridge in Selma on Bloody Sunday. These clergy, while they mean well, are far off base. The sin problem and the skin problem are forever linked. For as long as someone sees my skin as sin, that's a problem. As long as someone sees my skin as beneath them, that's a problem. As long as someone sees my skin as being a reason to enslave me, to discriminate against me, to be biased against me, to be unjust against me, to criminalize me, to hate me, my skin problem is a sin problem. And if you don't get that, that too makes me want to holler. Well, what am I going to do if I holler at my TV? That won't do no good, so that's out. If I go out and holler at every white person I see, then that would make me just like any other racist. That won't work. If I holler at the police, if I loot, if I go out and tear down buildings, if I go out into the streets and I'm violent, and if I do all those things, then I probably either get locked up or killed, and that won't fix the problem. In fact, I will only be adding to the stereotype that is already prevalent, that is leading to some of the deaths and arrests we are experiencing. So how do I holler in a way that you can hear me? How do you holler in a way that you can be heard? First, may I suggest to you that you get on your knees and you holler to God like never before, and you pray. And you pray that the sin that people are perpetuating because of my skin will one day be done away with. Pray that people will one day see me not because I am black, but see me as a man. That people will understand that my skin is not a sin. My skin is not a problem. In fact, I like, even love the skin that I'm in. Next, you can go vote. November is coming around, and this is an important election. If you want to scream in a way that'll count, go to that poll and vote. In fact, you need to go check now and see that you are registered. If you don't know for sure, if you want to check it out, go to www.rockthevote. Rock the vote. And you can go online and check your registration status. In fact, many states will allow you, if you're not registered, to register right online. Not all of them, but many other states will allow you to register right online. Go register and make sure that you get out and vote. And finally, what you can do is that you can go to www.mycensus.gov, and you can complete the 2020 census, because it's important. It's important to areas of your life that you can never, ever imagine. We need you to complete that census. If you're going to holler in a way that brings change. Holler in a way that is going to do some good. Holler in a way that is going to help make things better. I know what it feels like to want to holler. And after looking at what's happening in our country and realizing that we got a long ways to go, it makes me want to holler. This has been Bishop Elvin B. Thompson with the Keep the Fire Burning podcast. Until next time, stay lit.